We'll play on grass. We'll play on turf. We'll go to landfill. Doesn't matter.
My goodness, what a last couple of days the Detroit Lions have been having in free agency. So I kind of feel like after some of my comments I made in the past two Detroit Lions videos, I have to kind of eat and walk back on them. For those of you who don't know, I said the Lions wouldn't really sign anybody noteworthy in free agency, because it hasn't been their overall philosophy the past two seasons. And that philosophy being committed to building through the draft as much as possible. But so far, even before this year's draft, Brad Holmes has been showing his masterclass. And it's ultimately why I think the Lions not only will win the North, but be in contention for the entire NFC. In the NFC North, you're having Minnesota shipping everyone and their mom away, the Packers without Rodgers and additional depth, and the Bears, while taking strides, spent $90 million on two linebackers. Your only real clear-cut competition in the NFC as a whole is San Francisco, because Philly lost both coordinators, basically everyone on their defense, including Darius Slay, while the 49ers don't even know who's going to play quarterback, but their defense is still pretty good. Even more so by adding Javon Hargrave to that stacked defensive line. So I gotta admit, it's a little funny when I see people still make fun of the Lions on Twitter. You got a young, up-and-rising team coming to a fruition and whole now, and I get it. I mean, they were crap for 90 years of their history. But consider this, when you look at the NFC and the entire NFL as a whole for the matter, what teams are really good right now? So I think the Lions have a realistic shot going into 2023. They have one of the strongest and youngest rosters. A quarterback entering his prime and arguably having one of his best seasons, if not the best season in his career last year. A top 5 offense, which is being led arguably by one of the hottest coaching hires next year in Ben Johnson. And as we've seen in the first 2 days of free agency, we're going to have a whole new backfield of cornerbacks in 2023. And this is something I've believed the Lions have needed to do for a while. Considering that the Lions finished dead last in the NFL in total defense and 30th against the pass last season, but held opposing quarterbacks to 83.4 passer rating over the final 10 games. And Brad Holmes finally did something about it in free agency, signing Steelers cornerback Cam Sutton to a 3-year, $33 million deal with $11 million signing bonus. And considering that most Steelers fans are mad right now, I say this is a huge win for the Detroit Lions. In 2022, Sutton arguably had his best season with a 71.6 PFF grade, recording 37 solo tackles, 3 interceptions, 71 targets, and only allowing 36 receptions. To me, he seems like a very underestimated and versatile cornerback that can fit any scheme and position, being that he worked on the inside and out as a dime and safety, which he never faltered. And over the course of his career, he always seems to be the smartest defender on the field, which is always great if you need him in a pinch for any spot. And while he's not the most athletic, he's not going to be a liability like previous members in the DB room, keeping guys like Jamar Chase at bay. He's also going to fit that gritty Dan Campbell mold that he always preaches. Then on Tuesday, we had the Lions sign Sutton's former Tennessee Volunteer teammate Emmanuel Moseley from the 49ers, which again pissed off many 49ers fans. So again, it's another W by the Lions staff. And something we saw similarly happen last year when Brad Holmes signed DJ Chark. Emmanuel Moseley agreed to a 1-year prove-it deal worth $6 million because he's coming off a torn ACL sustained in Week 6 against the Panthers. And again, he's the type of player that fits that underdog mentality that the team has, especially since he came out of college undrafted. And in that time coming out of Tennessee and going to the 49ers, he's recorded 162 tackles, 128 solo, 4 interceptions, and 33 pass breakups. He has a very similar style to Sutton, but he's especially good at always being in position, always around the ball, and honestly has the hands of a receiver. And he's really great at not allowing a lot of separation between receivers and himself. And while I expect there to be a lot of competition in the cornerback room, like I've always said, you can never have enough corners. Sutton and Moseley are most likely your Week 1 starters, if he's healthy, of course. And staying in the same conversation in the DB room, Will Harris decided to sign another 1-year contract with the team. And you guys remember when many of us wrote him off last year after training camp? And honestly, I'm really excited for him. He played his best football last year after taking over as the Lions starting slot cornerback. And apparently in just 10 games he made enough to impress, garnering 57 tackles when initially in the beginning of the season he was competing for the starting outside cornerback spot and initially spending most of his time on special teams until he replaced Mike Hughes in the nickel packages in the second half of the season, which of course is when the Lions started picking up momentum. My overall thought here, boys and girls, is Brad Holmes gave himself a lot of different options, even more so than before. The Lions cornerback room went from one one of the worst to potentially one of the best. Also on the defensive side of the ball, they decided to bring Alex Anzalone, aka Thor, back, John Kaminsky, Isaiah Buggs, and because they restructured the contract of Charles Harris, it's most likely that he's returning as well. Not only are they bringing their key contributors back from last year, they're also bringing in potential game wreckers in the cornerback room. And the draft hasn't even begun in Kansas City. And seeing how Brad Holmes has drafted the past 2 seasons, I say the Lions are in pretty damn good hands. But on the offensive side of the ball, it really breaks my heart that the Lions aren't going to be retaining Jamal Williams, who I think we can all say changed the culture around here, and is one of the largest reasons why the Lions are where they are at today. But in my personal opinion, I think the Lions upgraded at the position, signing running back David Montgomery from the Chicago Bears, signing a 3-year deal worth $18 million. But I do find it kind of a little bit weird that Jamal Williams signed with the New Orleans Saints for 3 years, $12 million. The Lions obviously wanted an upgrade there. And quite honestly, with this offensive line, it wouldn't surprise me if David Montgomery broke Jamal Williams' franchise touchdown record. Yes, I know it's crazy back-to-back years where the record's broken. But listen to this. Montgomery is the Frankenstein of running back. He has the feet of Saquon Barkley, the vision of Le'Veon Bell, the strength of Ezekiel Elliott, and the athleticism of Sonny Michel. And in his time with the Bears, Montgomery topped 200 carries in 4 seasons, running career highs of 1,070 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2020, and topping 800 yards each of the past 2 seasons, and has averaged 4 yards per carry on nearly 1,000 attempts for his entire career. This guy's pretty damn good. Like I told you guys in a previous video, this reflects what Ben Johnson wants in a running back, somebody that's shifty and can get yards. David Montgomery's just that. He'll get you plenty of yards. But I think we're at a point in the video where we can kind of have a discussion period. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'm curious what everybody else thinks about where this, franchise is going. I ultimately think this is a turning point in the rebuilding phase, and I don't think we really have to call it that anymore. The Lions are real, legit playoff contenders, and they maybe can push for a spot in the NFC Championship game or even the Super Bowl. Maybe that's a little bit of a high on me, but I really don't see any other competent or competitive football teams, especially in the NFC. It's wide open right now. And given what the Lions have done thus far in this offseason, I can't wait for the draft. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Peace.